What's up, guys? Paulie Malignaggi, Paulie TV. Richardson Hitchens steps up in the biggest fight of his career as he takes on Jose Zepeda this weekend in a fight that has big 140-pound implications. Let me tell you something, man. This 140-pound division is getting hot again. I thought it was hot when they had the 140-pound tournament, the World Boxing Super Series that Josh Taylor won. And that wasn't that long ago, honestly. As a matter of fact, Jose Zepeda, I don't know if he was in the tournament, but he certainly fought some of those guys. I know he has a win over Ivan Baranchyk. And I mean, he's not super old here, man. Jose Zepeda is a guy, and I said this on my ProBox TV podcast when I was working with Chris Algieri and George Jakovich at ProBox TV. I mentioned the same thing here that I'm going to say now. And that is, I think Jose Zepeda, in a different generation, in a generation where the weight class wasn't as talented or wasn't as deep, I thought he could possibly have become a world champion. I thought he was that good, honestly. He's very impressive to me. But the weight class was so deep that, you know, he was not able to become a world champion. But I still think he was a viable guy, a dangerous guy, still on the other side of his prime, as opposed to Hitchens, who is moving up, ascending, and is getting closer to his prime. Hitchens, on the other hand, you know, a guy who turned pro with a lot of fanfare. I know him from Brooklyn. I know him since he's a child, or at least I've heard about him the whole time. I know him as well, but Hitchens turned pro with a lot of fanfare. Turned pro after making the Olympic team for the Haitian team after not qualifying for the U.S. team. So he, as an Olympian, you always get a little bit more of a push. Also, he turned pro with Mayweather, and there was a lot of hype behind him. But it sort of slowed down, and I started wondering if maybe he was falling off a little bit. But you noticed him in the crew with guys like Adrian Broner, with guys like Tank Davis. So he was in the circle of successful fighters. But I think now he's sort of broken away on his own as far as starting to make a name for himself. He's finally starting to live up to the reputation that I think was always expected of him when he was an amateur and when he was a young prospect. So this is a really, really solid matchup. I like it a lot because it's a matchup between two guys who are, you know, going up against one another at sort of crossroads point in their careers. Zepeda's on the way down, but I don't know that he's that much on the way down yet. And Hitchens is on the way up, but we don't know how good he can be just yet because he hasn't stepped up to this level. But Zepeda has been a dangerous guy, and if Hitchens is going to become a world champion, this is sort of the gatekeeper type of opponent that he is up against and he has to beat and actually look impressive against. The difference is Zepeda, for me, is not just your average gatekeeper, because like I said, Zepeda, for me, is a guy who would have probably been a world champion had his weight class not been so deep with talent that he wasn't able to acquire a world championship. So he may still have that unfinished business feeling in his mind. He may still have that feeling like, you know, the mentality like, I'm still hungry and I want to accomplish what I think I'm good enough to accomplish. And of course, Hitchens has to get by him. Hitchens, obviously the ascending guy, starting to come into his own, is going to feel like he can also make his reputation. And with a win over Zepeda, a guy like Zepeda, people start to really take him more seriously. He becomes more than a prospect. I think this is the fight where if Hitchens wins, he becomes a contender, not just a prospect to look at. So important fight for both guys, because if Zepeda goes and gets a win over Hitchens right now, Zepeda, who's not the youngest guy, probably jumps into a title fight right away. You know what I mean? I think he earns himself yet another big fight right away, another title shot. I believe he's fought for the title already, but another title shot. Like I said, he's got wins over guys who've been world champions like Baranchyk. So he's a dangerous guy and a good fight, a good matchup. And I like that. I like this fight. Probably, if I had gun to my head, I mean, this is a hard fight to pick this weekend. Gun to my head, I'd probably angle towards Hitchens because I think anything close will probably go his way anyway, because he's the guy who's going to be the A side and the guy who the money people are banking on at this point. So and also I think he's good enough. Listen, I think it's going to be a competitive fight, but I think he's good enough to get by Zepeda in a good fight. I think personally Hitchens is the real deal, and he's going to be able to prove that. But it's not going to be an easy fight, and I think it's going to be a competitive fight, and I think it's going to be an interesting fight to watch for us boxing fans. But let me know what you guys think. You know, what you guys know enough about Hitchens to really make a prediction. I know most of you that watch these videos are hardcore boxing fans, so I expect that you guys know about Zepeda. What do you guys think his chances are, and how much do you think he has left? I personally still think he's got enough left to make this a really good fight. And listen, there's an upset possibility, but I go with Hitchens as my pick. On the undercard to Hitchens versus Zepeda, on the undercard this weekend to Hitchens versus Zepeda, you have Conor Benn returning. This announcement came at the last minute, which is really, really weird. Conor Benn still has an ongoing investigation about his failed drug test. They say, okay, he's going to have it overturned. Whatever failed drug test that it was, which is always weird. I mean, boxing's a funny sport, you know, just like in anything else in life. If you got enough money, you can make it go away. Or if enough money people are backing you, you can make it go away. Honestly, at the end of the day, man, the way I look at it, like, I used to be a really outspoken about drug testing and steroids and PEDs in boxing. At this point, though, I really am so convinced that at the highest level, they're all on it anyway. That with Conor Benn being punished, it's almost like, all right, you don't want to punish him. That's fine. I'm sure he's going to probably have to ascend the ladder and fight guys who are doped up themselves. So, okay, I get what he has to do. I get it. So in that case, let's stop being hypocritical where the less popular guys end up with 3-year bans and the really popular guys get their failed drug tests overturned or get slaps on the wrist. You know, that's my problem is the hypocrisy, man. I get it. Money rules. At this point, I'm 42 years old. I'm almost 43. I see the way life works. You know, when money is in charge, and when there's enough greed, and there's always enough greed by the people in charge, you know, that will dictate. Whatever makes more money will dictate. And whether the thing that makes money is the right thing to do or the wrong thing to do, that's going to dictate no matter what. The right thing to do doesn't even come into play. It's about what makes more money. He generates a lot of money, so you know what? You're gonna let him back in. You're gonna have him. You're gonna have him fight again, despite the ongoing investigation. And I'm sure this is gonna go away. The interesting thing is the BBBFC can't really stop this, even though it's an ongoing investigation, because Matchroom cleverly or announced this the week of the fight that he's going to be on this undercard. And I think it's a shame because you're taking away the attention from a very good main event, which is Hitchens against Zepeda. It's kind of a shame that it's happening that way because, you know, I think those guys in the main event deserve all the credit they should have for fighting each other, and it's going to be a good fight. But Ben is the bigger name on the card, so now all of the media who are just click whores, and they know they'll get more clicks if they go on interview and talk about Ben and talk to Ben. Now Ben's going to get all the attention, despite the fact that he's fighting, you know, a guy who probably doesn't have much of a chance. Decent record, but doesn't have much of a chance. I was actually by the Carib, by the Carib Royale Hotel where the fight is going to be the other night, because I was working in Plant City for the Pro Box fights, and I saw Ben's opponent actually out for a run, trying to, you know, make weight, I guess. Yeah, that was a couple nights before the weigh-in. So I guess, you know, he probably hasn't made weight very easily. So you probably got maybe a half weight drained guy who wasn't that good to begin with, you know, with a, you know. Now listen, I get it. It's a re-entry fight. I totally get it. I totally get it. Ben, you got to make Ben look good in the comeback. I totally get it. Like I said, if there's no hypocrisy, if we just say, okay, you know what? And this is not what I want, but this is obviously what's got to happen. It's like, okay, let's stop pretending anybody cares. And okay, they dope up, and that's it. Because you know what? Even from Ben's sake, I kind of get it from his side too, if he's doping, because most likely the guys he's going to have to take on for world-class honors are also doping, most likely. You know what? And that's the point where we're at here. So, you know what? Let's stop pretending we care. I mean, listen, I did care. I do care. I'm not fighting anymore. I still would care. But if I don't have the power to make any change, the people in power do not want to make any change. They care more about money than anything else. So, you know what? Let's forget about it. You know what? Okay, so Ben's going to fight. The only issue I have here is that at least let due process go by. I get you're going to let him off the hook. Let due process go by. Finish the investigation before you get him a fight. This is sort of like real low-key, like low-class, low-key. You know what I mean? Like you announce this at the very, very last minute, so the BBBFC can't even fight this because it's across the pond and it's a last-minute announcement, so they can't even go and try to prevent him from fighting. Because if you would have announced this last week, the BBBFC, despite the fight being in the U.S., may have been able to step in and stop this fight from happening. Like I said, I'll reiterate. Personally, I don't think it's that big of a deal now because nobody cares. Nobody cares anyway. And that's why I don't think it's that big of a deal. To me, personally, it is a big deal. Nobody cares. So why am I going to care if I can't stop it and the people that could stop it don't care to stop it? Instead, they care to do sneaky things like this. And like I said, I think it's a shame that this now overtakes the main headlines that Hitchinson and Zepeda should be getting, because that's a very good fight. That's going to be a better fight than the Ben fight anyway. You know what I'm saying? But that's my thoughts on that, man. Let me know what you guys think about that, about the main event, which I think is a great main event, Hitchinson and Zepeda, and also what you guys think about Ben, you know, this fight being announced at the very last instant. They just stuck it in there. Listen, they knew they were going to do this the whole time. You don't just get this guy on a card last minute when he doesn't know, you know? So they knew they were going to do this the whole time, but so they planned this, you know, kind of to just sneak him in on the card at the last minute. So that's what I think is just filthy. I feel like filthy even talking about it. Like I gotta wipe the mud off myself, you know. But whatever. This is boxing. You're kind of used to it by now. Let me know what your thoughts are. Should Ben at least have been forced to wait until the end of the investigation? Listen, he shouldn't not be able to fight. I get you got to make a living and all that. And like I said, I will reiterate for the last time that the guys he's going to have to fight at world class level most likely aren't clean either. So at this point, I unfortunately, begrudgingly have to be understanding of these things, that they are going to be a part of the sport. I'm Paulie Malignaggi. This is Paulie TV. Let me know what you guys think of this entire discussion, because it's going to get touchy. I'm sure some people might be offended by what I just said.